Thank you so much. Thank you, Sloan. Thank you, Julie. I'm so grateful. Ecom has been such a part of my journey, and I'm so grateful that this room is so filled with so many talented and passionate and magical women. But let's talk about our ego. That's not our amigo. Have you ever had like a divine download, like a brilliant idea about something in your business or in your life? You're like, you know what? I want to launch that podcast. I want to pivot my business. I want to write that book or get that course online. And then all of a sudden, we hear this little voice in our head that says, you know what? It may not be the right time. The economy is kind of weird. Or, who are you to do that? Who's going to even read that book? That's the voice I heard when I was thinking about writing my book. Or, it says, what will other people say if we take that leap out of how they know us? And I'm here to tell you that this voice that you hear is not your higher self. It is not your soul's contract. It is your ego that is what? Not your amigo. Not your amigo. But today, I'm going to share with you how to overcome the distractions of the ego. Because my soul's contract, the reason I am here, and it's beyond a slide deck or a PowerPoint or a speech, it's a passion. It's a mission. I get chills down my body when I think about it. Because when I was 19 years old, my brother suddenly passed away of an epileptic seizure. And at that time, I had to make a decision. I was so depressed, so demoralized. I didn't know what to do in my life. I was at a crossroads. And everybody kept saying, what a tragedy that your brother passed away. And I went to sleep one night, and he came to me in a dream. And it was as if it was a visitation. And he said, my passing was not a tragedy, it was a destiny, and you have a destiny. And I was like, what is it, right? And he's like, you're here to teach. And then I was like, teach what? And then the alarm went off. Teach what? At 19 years old, I was like, what the heck am I supposed to teach? And I taught preschool, and I taught work-life balance, and I taught time management and stress management, teaching AI, and I kept teaching efficiency, this and that, and I realized what I'm here to do is to support you to overcome any obstacle that is blocking you from your soul's contract, what you're here to do. And that any blockage that is pulling the parking brake up on your vision, on your passion, that's my job, to facilitate, to be the doula, to allow you to be able to bring it to life. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You excited? Yeah! All right. So let's talk about the ego. I was driving up with Michelle. Michelle's so sweet. She comes from Malibu, comes over to San Buenaventura and picks me up. And playing in her car spontaneously was Louise Hay. Don't you love anybody? Oh, come on. Affirmations. I love my body. I love my life, right? So when I was young, I always would listen to Louise Hay tapes. And Wayne Dyer was the father. Yes, the Power of Intention book. During the late 80s on PBS, they used to have him talk about the ego, right? And I remember recently when I was thinking if it was the time to launch my book, and I sleep with my phone on my bed, and I guess I rolled over my phone and it pressed YouTube, and all of a sudden I hear Wayne Dyer. Oh, is he about that? Is he visiting me too? And he was talking about the ego. And the ego, what Wayne would say is the ego, it's not bad. It is not trying to harm us. It's trying to protect us. It's like my little puppy Davino, the Yorkie, who's scared of the skateboarder. He's scared when he hears the firecracker or the big truck. Our ego wants to stay safe. It wants to stay in the comfort zone. It wants to do the job, the role, the title that we know, right? And anytime we step out of it, Wayne Dyer would say, it starts edging good out. Not because it wants to sabotage us, but because it wants to protect us, right? But my other master teacher, which I'm sure you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe, who I had the pleasure of spending a week in Cancun, Mexico, learning how to meditate. We meditated for 3.5 hours, first thing in the morning. And we would get up at 4 in the morning to do this. And as a recovering adrenaline addict, I used to not be able to sit still to get my nails done. So to be able to sit still for 3.5 hours, that's some recovery, right? But Dr. Joe, one of the great things that he taught us, because he's an expert in neuroscience, and he studies how we can heal our bodies through the power of the mind. And he said that the only way that we can shift out of that comfort zone is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And when we would sit to meditate for 3.5 hours, those first 20 minutes were really, really uncomfortable. But that's what we have to do. We have to tell the ego, you're not my ego. Come on, your ego is not your ego. Okay. So we can do what we're here to do. Because I'm here to tell you, each one of you, you're powerful. You wouldn't be attracted here today to this group of women unless you were. You have unique talents, you have unique skills, and guess what? Every challenge you had, every bit of adversity, that's what gives you the tenacity to be able to be strong, overcoming the fires, overcoming the world right now, overcoming everything that has gone on. Even that is part of your journey. But the ego will say, I don't know. So we're going to talk about these distractions of the ego. I'm sorry, Olivia, that I used your name in vain. But these may be none of you in the room, okay? This may be none of you in the room, but you may know people that suffer from these distractions of the ego. And I'll just speak for myself. So Olivia, the overachiever, okay? So Olivia may schedule every single living second of the day and wonder why she's so overwhelmed because there is no time and space for her visions or her dreams. There's Mañana Juana. I mean, it's Spanish Mañana Juana. She's the procrastinator. She says, I want to launch, but it's just not right. Let's just wait till mañana. And she doesn't do it. Then there's Penelope, the perfectionist, where she's like, it's just not quite right yet. I just need to do this, I just need to do that. And the parking brake gets pulled up. There's doubting Daphne, who has analysis paralysis. And she's overthinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And she thinks herself right out of that. Right out of that idea, because it's just the mind scramble. And then there's negative self-talk Nelly. Saturday Night Live would call her Debbie Downer, but I resent that. I resent that. So negative self-talk Nelly. And by the way, all of these distractions of the ego, they're not flaws. They're just, like I said, there to protect us because it wants to keep us safe and in our comfort zone. But when we realize fear, which is what the comfort zone is afraid of, is the same reaction as excitement. Have you ever gone on a roller coaster, like at Magic Mountain or something like that, or a bungee jump, or did something exciting? What happens? Your heart starts beating, you maybe have shallow breath, and you have anticipation of what's going to happen next. What if fear was just misdirected excitement? And what if we could get excited and tell your ego, come on, tables for that. Your ego is not ego. All right. So let's break this down. I'm going to give you solutions because I'm a solution-oriented person. So we're going to first talk about the overscheduler. And I have to tell you, I named her Olivia, but it really was me. So I am a recovering confession. I'm a recovering adrenaline addict. Everybody say hi, Deborah. Hi. In recovery. Being an entrepreneur and being a recovering adrenaline addict is like being an alcoholic that's bartender, okay? It's a slippery slope, right? Because there's no hours on the door when it comes to entrepreneurship. You can work your butt off all day long, and at the end of the day, you're still gonna have a to-do list that goes all the way down to 101 and up to 5. Am I right? Because you're the CEO, the CTO, the COO, and now we have to do AI what? And this is why I help you with AI and efficiency, is because I want you to take stuff off your plate. I want you to not make more to-do lists, but to have a let-go list. And I'm here, let me help you with AI to be able to delegate some of this stuff. Because there is the illusion, and I used to get into this trap, that busyness was productivity, right? And I remember one day being in the hospital at age 24 due to my adrenal burnout. Did you know you can burn out your adrenals? I know Livia teaches about that. When you're in fight or flight all day long in the sympathetic nervous system and don't shift over to the parasympathetic system, which is rest and digest, you have problems sleeping. You have problems digesting food. You have problems being creative because your brain is in emergency mode. But you cannot sustain that. It is unsustainable. So I had to learn that there was a better way. And one of the principles in my book that has helped me when I get in the adrenaline addict mode is instead of saying what's next, I say what's now. What is right now on my plate? The only thing that I'm going to focus on to be present for is you. Nothing else in my business, nothing else in my life is important but you, and that your life is transformed. When we are present and we are mindful, guess what happens with our brain? It's the same brain. You know, time management is a fallacy. It's not about time management. It's about energy management and clearing space. We will take out our trash. We will take out our recycling. We'll empty the recycle bin on our computer. But unless we're doing practices to still our mind, and when I say still the mind, it doesn't have to be necessarily sitting still. I'm not saying you have to meditate for 3.5 hours. One of the greatest things I do for alignment is paddleboard yoga. And we'll paddle for 30 minutes, we'll do yoga, and then we lay down in shavasana, which yoga is supposed to be the mind-body connection, get you ready to be still, to meditate. And when I'm in shavasana, guess what happens? My body is finally able to hear that inner voice, right? And all the divine downloads the answers to my business. I'm like, who knew my higher self knew how to run a business? It's like, why are you working so hard? Why are you doing it like this? You should just do this. Wow, you're good, you're good. So what we need to do is a mindset reframe. Let's reframe. Reframe. And our reframe is, instead, because I used to think of if I had empty time on my calendar that I was wasting time. That's what my adrenaline addiction would say. And now I say, and I talk about it in the book, when I create space in my calendar, I allow creativity to come in so that my projects get fulfilled. So the more I create space in my life, I create space in my brain, I make room for that. And maybe you're not wanting to go to the next level in your next business. Maybe you're looking for your soulmate. See my friend JC right here. Make space for your man, right? I don't judge, whatever you want. Okay? All right. Next, I want you to meet my friend. Her name is Manana Wana. Who is it? Manana Wana. She is a procrastinator, right? And she's not procrastinating because she, doesn't want to do her project. But the ego is whispering in her ear, you're not ready yet. You should really wait. I had somebody that I invited here today, but she was moving, but she was considering waiting with launching her business because of everything that's going on in the economy. And I was saying, people need your business now more than ever, right? If you read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, it wasn't during the time when everything was going great. It was during the time of the Great Depression that the men of the day roared, Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, but now it's going to be Amanda, JC, Marjorie, Michelle, Tammy, Julie, right? You guys are the new Think and Grow Rich for the 21st century. But it's aligning with that. And I have to tell you, what shook me out of the Manana Wana syndrome, I was speaking at a conference, and I was talking about my divorce at that time, and I was speaking at this conference, and this woman came up to me afterward, and she was like, thank you so much, I want to buy your book, and I want to buy one for your sister. I'm like, I didn't write it yet, because my ego was not my amigo. I didn't say ego. I was like, amigo. And I saw a tear go down her eye, and it really touched me. And then she wrote me an email like thanking me. And so every time I would sit at my desk and my ego would doubt me, I would read her email. And I said, you know what, Deborah, this is not about you, this book, this podcast, this course, your next thing. It's about the people you serve. Okay. So don't be selfish, Deborah, and think, well, what will they think of me? It's not about you. It's about who you're serving. And so her writing me that email got me focused every day. And I didn't try to write a whole book 12 hours a day for every day. I just did 90 minutes. I did 90 minutes, and I would schedule it in my calendar, and I would see it in my life, and I had an accountability buddy, and I would check in with her, and I said, I'm gonna write, I'm stopping writing, and guess what? In 4 months, that book was done, and there it is on the table. So what is the mindset reframe? The mindset reframe, because the ego will say, you need to do all or nothing. That's what the ego says, right? But what we need to do is just take one step. You know that wonderful book that we all love, Atomic Habits? Isn't that a good book? It said, like, when I wanted to get back to treadmill, and you're always inspiring me, JC, and Santa Marie's always inspiring me to get to the gym. I'm like, I don't have to do a marathon. I could just do 20 minutes on the treadmill, okay? So start small. You hear how I talk to myself, okay? All right, let's talk about perfectionism. So perfectionism is tricky because the reason that many people become perfectionistic, they might have had a critical parent. I remember my dad, I would have all A's and a B+, and he would say, why did you get that B+? And literally, I'm getting my doctorate right now in organizational leadership, and I got an A-, and I started crying to my lead, and he was like, Deborah? He's like, let me tell you something. When you get your doctorate, no one's going to ask you your GPA, okay? So we need to put this perfectionism to the side. But it's really a shield, and it's an illusion. Because there's no such thing as perfect. Even people that you see online, filtered, people you see in person, Botox, sometimes, right? And let's face it, especially as women, we don't relate to people based on them being perfect. In fact, we relate on people being authentic and being vulnerable. Why do you think my mentor, you may have heard of her, her name is Oprah. Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, every day for 25 years at 3 o'clock we would get together and she would give me advice, right? She gave me so much advice about so many things. She got me to do my first marathon. She gave me the confidence in so many things. But when I saw Oprah run the marathon, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to look like FloJo to run a marathon. I can look like Oprah and run a marathon. Let me start. And I did 5 marathons because I wasn't focused on perfection. I wasn't trying to win and beat the Ethiopians. I was just trying to finish and look cute. And actually, I met FloJo before she passed away. And she was at the marathon conference when I did, and she signed my shoe. And she wrote, train hard, love FloJo, but always wear your lipstick. So when we think about perfection, think about some of the companies, right? How many of you have an iPhone 1 in your pocket? No, you don't have an iPhone 1. Do you have a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14? Why? Because Apple put it out, it has a few bugs, then they improve it. Then they put it out, has a few bugs. Meta, with Facebook, put it out, had some bugs, improve it. Huge companies that are billion-dollar companies, that few of them are my clients, they don't wait till everything is perfect. Even with like AI that I teach, there's models, they put it out, then they're like, okay, we're gonna take it to the next level. Us as business owners, We have to put it out there and then improve it. Ultimately, my 21-day Ego Not Your Amigo book is going to be an app. But I'm not going to wait till it becomes an app to be able to offer it to you. You're going to be able to leave with it next week if you want it. Because I'm going to do it first as an email, then as a Kindle, then as an Audible, then as an app, then as a course. It's going to grow, it's going to evolve. And every time it's going to be progress, not perfection. Because guess what? I give myself permission to be imperfect, but to be authentic. And that's what people appreciate. I hear the phone going off. Okay.
5 minutes.
Okay. Oh, cool.
I'm passing the papers
I
around.
love it. Okay, great. So let's talk about the next one, imposter syndrome, okay? So the ego will always say, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are, right? And I will tell you, when I first started getting asked to speak on the topic of AI, not only did my ego say, who do you think you are, but my critical dad said, are you sure you can talk on the topic of AI? Dad, I'm not going to talk from an engineering perspective. I'm not going to talk from a theoretical perspective. I'm going to share how small businesses can practically use it. And so I said yes. And my message to you is, if you have had a divine download, an idea to take your business, or if you're an entrepreneur, to take your side hustle to the next level, you don't need to know how to do it. You only needed to know what. Because what is the phrase? When the teacher is ready, the student appears. I didn't know how to write a book. The student is ready, the teacher appears. You know that. So when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I didn't know how to write a book when I wrote my book. I didn't know how to do a podcast when I launched my podcast. I didn't know how to do an online course when I launched my course. We have support. We have resources. And the imposter syndrome will always say, it's not, you don't know enough, but you know what? I said yes, I spoke at that conference, and that's where I met Kim. That was my first time speaking. Kim and I met over Zoom. I wasn't even doing the conference in person, it was online. And since I said yes to that conference, now I've created a curriculum on AI that's a certificate program that's going to be offered at Santa Barbara City College free to the public. Anyone in California can attend, and they're going to get a badge on their LinkedIn. So it's not about my ego, that's not my ego, it's about the people that we serve, because guess what? Your ego is not your ego. Okay, so what do? There's the negative self-talk as well, that limiting belief that will say, I don't think that you should do this, right? And I remember the other day, I was telling my mom, I'm like, Mom, guess what? I got kicked out of my gym. She's like, what are you talking about? Is that true? Because she went to Byron Katie with me and Amazon. We did, and we did the work. Because the ego will lie. And it'll put you in victim consciousness and not even, I'm like, actually, no, my gym didn't kick me out. They wouldn't modify for my knee, so I fired them. But see how I played the victim? My mom's like, is that true? But guess what my mom did? When I was 8 years old, she enrolled me in intuition class. I thought she's the craziest freaking mom in the world. She's like, we'd be looking at candles. What do you feel? Like, oh my God, my mom is weird. My mom is weird. But I have to tell you, when it comes to not only my business, but my mentor, Oprah, she said, and the other day I was like, is this the right time? Ego said it, to launch this? And then, of course, Oprah's podcast came up. She was interviewing this lady named Laura about intuition and ego. Did you hear that episode? And Oprah said the only time she didn't make money on a project was when she didn't listen to her intuition, when she didn't listen to the gut. And just like you got here, and I thank you, if you came from Marina Del Rey and Venice and Pasadena and Redondo Beach, I appreciate it. You put the address in, you get there. Well, guess what? And this is very important for the young kids we mentor. Your kids, your grandkids, the answers aren't on Google. The answers are not in AI. The answers are within you. You have an intuitive guidance system. Just like a GPS in the car, you have an IGS in your soul that's leading you. right place, right time, right people. That's how you came here with Julia and women, right? Because it led you here, right? But we have to learn to listen to that. And sometimes Oprah, her first speech she ever gave was, did you ever hear it? First you get a whisper. She would say that in life, I heard her speak at the California Women's Conference. First you get a whisper, and it's like, it's your time. If you don't listen to that, you get a knock. And sometimes that knock is kicking you out of your job, right? Or sometimes that knock is getting a sickness. Or sometimes that knock is having an accident. I had 15 accidents. I do not want you to learn the hard way. I am committed to you getting success the ease and grace way. And that's why I wrote this book, and that's why I'm writing the next book. And it's all about listening to your intuition. It's all about tuning in. And I know that's easier said than done. So what I've done is I've created a 21-day intuitive guidance system program. And everyone here is invited to my free 5-day live group program. Okay, I'm going to get wrapped up now. All right. So the 3 takeaways are, obviously, your ego is not to blame. It's just there to protect you. And we talked about the 5 distractions of the ego, but now that we revealed it, it doesn't have to have power over us. Once we take something out of the shadow into the light, it has no power. And now we know, what do we tune into? Our intuitive guidance system, and that's what I'm going to help you do with my 21-day program. I'm really grateful that all of you are here. My mentor, besides Oprah, is Marianne Williamson. She always talks about how our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, but our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. She doesn't say this, but when we stop listening to the ego that's not our amigo and step into our power, not only are we going to shine our light, but we're going to inspire others to do the same. Thank you so much.
You have to raise the bar, you go with us, and that's the level of experience you want up here. And this is the level of speaking that you can do in the future. So those of you that are part of the Women's Santa Barbara chapter,